Seduction, confidence, power. These three forces shape human history more than armies, money, or even intelligence. They are not separate skills, but interlocking pillars of dominance. If you master one, the others follow. But if you master all three, you become untouchable. Niccolò Machiavelli, often misunderstood as a mere manipulator, understood a deeper game. He did not just write about princes and politics. He studied the anatomy of human influence. To him, seduction wasn't just about romance. It was the art of being irresistible in every arena: business, politics, friendship, war. Confidence wasn't self-help fluff. It was armor. And power? It was not taken by force. It was earned through perception. Let's begin with the first step of becoming this dangerous hybrid Machiavellian figure. Someone who doesn't chase but draws people in. Someone whose confidence cannot be cracked. Someone others follow not out of obligation but fascination. You don't need to be the most attractive. You need to be the most compelling. Machiavelli would argue that desire is born not from pleasure, but from uncertainty, from the anticipation of something that might be yours, but isn't yet. As he wrote in The Prince, men are driven more by the fear of loss than the promise of gain. So, what does this mean for seduction? You must create tension. Not drama, but mystery. Don't give everything. Don't always be available. Don't always respond. Let your presence feel like a reward, not a given. Be the question they want to answer. Speak less than others expect. Make eye contact, then break it first. Don't always smile. Instead, make people earn your warmth. Let your silence hang heavier than their words. People chase what they don't fully understand. They obsess over what feels just out of reach. The moment you give everything, like attention, approval, and vulnerability, they stop valuing you. Seduction is not an act. It's a strategy of scarcity. You've been lied to. You are told confidence comes from achievement, from approval, from being liked. Machiavelli knew the truth. Confidence is not internal. It's performed. You do not wait to feel powerful. You act powerful. And others, seeing it, believe it. Then, and only then, do you start to believe it yourself. This is why some people walk into a room and everyone turns. Not because they're rich or famous, but because their posture tells the room, "I don't need you, but you might need me." As he wrote, everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are. So how do you perform power before you feel it? Own the space by taking up more physical room. Don't shrink. Stand with intention. Slow your movements, because fast movements show anxiety while slow ones show control. Speak last. When everyone else rushes to talk, you wait, letting the silence make them nervous. Touch things slowly, like your glass, your collar, or your pen, to show you're not in a rush. And never justify yourself because explaining too much is insecurity disguised as honesty. Confidence is not shouting. It's the calm presence of someone who knows they're dangerous and doesn't need to prove it. Even if your hands tremble inside, even if your thoughts race, your behavior becomes your weapon. Repeat this performance enough, and it hardens into truth. Power comes from controlling what others feel around you. Machiavelli understood something chilling. It is not necessary to be loved. It is necessary to be feared or admired, but above all, respected. Power does not come from domination. It comes from emotional control. If you can make someone feel respected, they will follow you. If you can make them feel seen, they will protect you. If you can make them feel less than you, they will obey you, even while smiling. To do this, you must master your own emotions first. Never show jealousy, as it signals weakness. Never show desperation, as it signals dependence. Never show outrage, as it signals a loss of control. And never show admiration too easily, as it signals lower value. When someone tries to provoke you, be colder. When someone praises you, be still. When someone disrespects you, look at them like they've embarrassed themselves. Your reactions create your power. Every person who flinches at an insult, begs for attention, or smiles too wide becomes immediately forgettable. But the one who looks bored while others scramble, that's the one they call powerful. Be the spider, not the fly. Build emotional traps. Imagine two people. One talks too much, reveals their plans, over-explains everything they want, and overshares to be liked. That's the fly. The other listens, smiles faintly, asks questions, gives little, watches how people respond, waits. That's the spider. Machiavelli would never tell you to control people directly. That's brute force. Instead, build webs, give compliments that have double meanings, ask questions that make people reveal their motives, mirror their body language to build trust without words, withdraw slightly when they get too close, and they'll chase. Let people think they're leading while they're walking into your trap. And when they get entangled, don't pull, just observe. This is seduction elevated. This is psychological warfare. This is where influence turns into dominion, not because you told people what to do, but because you made them want to. In just this first movement, we've already disarmed the usual ideas of influence. Seduction isn't about attractiveness. Confidence isn't about feeling good. Power isn't about forcing control. They're all about manipulating perception. If you appear rare, people desire you. If you appear unbothered, people admire you. If you appear above, people follow you. And here's the dark truth. You don't even need to be those things at first. You just need to play the part until the part rewires your reality. The game is psychological. The rules are invisible. And Machiavelli handed you the blueprint. Let's now step further into the Machiavellian transformation, where seduction becomes effortless, confidence becomes unshakable, and power is no longer a goal but a default state. We've already seen how to shift perception, but now we move into internal mastery, where your energy becomes so potent that others adjust themselves around it without understanding why. This is not about pretending to be powerful anymore. This is where you become it. Emotional control is the final form of confidence. Anyone can look confident when things are going well, but real Machiavellian confidence is tested under pressure, when you're insulted, ignored, embarrassed, or challenged. And here's the trap most fall into. They react. They get defensive. They try to prove themselves. They raise their voice, lean in, explain too much. Machiavelli's genius was in recognizing that the most dangerous men don't react. They absorb and choose when to respond. As he noted, a wise prince should attract attention by his conduct, not his words. Emotional control is not apathy. It is a high form of discipline. It is the ability to experience the same chaos as everyone else, but remain unmoved and unreadable. To cultivate this when insulted, don't correct them. Let the insult linger in the air and smile faintly. When someone tries to impress you, stay neutral and don't validate them quickly. When something rattles you internally, delay your response and let time dilute your reaction. Over time, you become a fortress, and people will feel it. They'll think twice before disrespecting you. They'll crave your approval. They'll fear your silence, because you've trained yourself not to flinch. That is confidence that doesn't break, even under fire. Seduction is not always sexual, it's influence without resistance. When most people hear seduce, they think of attraction in a romantic sense. But Machiavelli's idea of seduction went far beyond that. To seduce is to make someone want to align with you, to make them lower their guard, to make them believe you are the answer to what they seek, whether it's status, love, validation, security, rebellion, or power. This is why the most seductive people in history, like Cleopatra, Casanova, and Julius Caesar, weren't always the most beautiful, but they understood desire. They knew that most people live in an emotional fog filled with insecurity, boredom, fear, and longing. A Machiavellian seducer enters their world like a spell. You don't sell yourself, you sell a feeling. You become the mystery that breaks their boredom, the danger that relieves their numbness, the approval that heals their wounds, or the challenge that makes them prove themselves. Want to become instantly seductive? Learn to speak to what they crave, not what they say. Mirror their emotional state, then slightly elevate it. Use ambiguity by saying just enough to spark curiosity, then pull back. Avoid over-explaining your intentions and let them wonder. Most importantly, make them feel seen in a way no one else does. People fall for those who reflect back the best version of themselves. Not because you're amazing, but because with you, they feel amazing. True power is built in silence, then unleashed with precision. In politics, warfare, and relationships, the people who make the most noise often die the fastest. Loud power is fragile. Real power is quiet until it strikes. Machiavelli advised rulers to appear harmless while planning ruthlessly behind closed doors. It's not deception, it's tactical invisibility. You must master the art of withholding. Withhold your long-term goals, withhold your next move, withhold your deepest values, withhold how much you care. This isn't coldness, it's protection. When no one can anticipate your actions, they can't counter them. When no one knows your limits, they assume you have none. A powerful person says little and observes everything. As Machiavelli warned, he who builds on the people builds on mud. People change, loyalties shift, perceptions lie. So build your power on self-reliance and secrecy. Trust slowly, show little, and always be 2 steps ahead. Because when your true power is finally revealed, it should feel like lightning. Unexpected, undeniable, and impossible to recover from. Become the source of others' identity, and you own them. This is one of the darkest, yet most effective Machiavellian tactics. People want to belong, it's primal. But most have no clear identity. They absorb it from others, from culture, from lovers, from leaders. If you can become the person who gives them a sense of self, you become irreplaceable. You don't control them through threats. You control them by becoming the mirror through which they see their best self. Tell them, you're not like the others. Give them a role, protector, rebel, genius, seducer. Reinforce it with praise only when they behave accordingly. Withdraw when they betray that identity and watch their panic. Over time, they don't just want you. They need you to remain who they believe they are. This is how cult leaders rise, how toxic lovers trap, how kings build fanatics. Machiavelli didn't advise you to be a tyrant. He advised you to understand the mechanics of power, and this is one of the most potent. Because when someone links their identity to your approval, you don't need chains. They'll chain themselves. Up to now, you've learned to wear the mask of power, to shift behavior, create perception, and use psychological tactics. But here is the twist Machiavelli hinted at. Once the mask is worn long enough, it fuses to your skin. Your actions change your beliefs, your posture shapes your presence, your restraint turns into control, your seduction becomes your nature. Most people try to find themselves. A Machiavellian doesn't find, he builds, brick by brick, behavior by behavior, until one day he doesn't need tactics. He becomes the tactic. This is what makes the powerful truly dangerous. They don't act like they have options. They know they are the option, and everyone else, consciously or not, begins to orbit around them. Now that you've begun shaping the exterior, it's time to enter the internal realm where true Machiavellian power consolidates. The world you're building outside must now match the core beliefs and psychological weaponry you carry within. Because here's the truth Machiavelli knew. People are not controlled by force. They are controlled by the assumptions they make about you. And when you control those assumptions without ever lifting a finger, you become untouchable. Master the power of negative space. Say less, mean more. Most people rush to fill silence, to explain, to impress, to clarify. They treat silence like a vacuum that must be covered up. But in Machiavelli's world, silence is not weakness. It's a tool, and often it's the most powerful statement of all. As he wrote, "A wise man does at once what a fool does finally." Think of the most feared individuals. They rarely say much. That's not a coincidence. It's a strategy, because the less you say, the more others project onto you. They wonder what you are thinking, if you are offended, or if you know something they don't. And that wondering, that overthinking, gives you power without you doing anything. Here's how to weaponize negative space. In conversation, respond with pauses longer than expected to let the silence pressure them. When someone asks for approval, don't give it immediately. Make them sit in uncertainty. When accused or challenged, respond with stillness, not defense, as it will unsettle them more than words ever could. In groups, observe before speaking. Say one meaningful thing, then withdraw. People remember what wasn't said. People obsess over the gaps. And in those gaps, you become more myth than man. Silence is the language of the powerful. Weaponize rejection. Become the prize, not the seeker. Most people spend their lives seeking approval from friends, family, lovers, bosses, strangers online. But approval is a trap. The more you seek it, the less you control it. And Machiavelli understood, whoever wants less holds more. Power belongs to those who can reject. That doesn't mean being cruel. It means choosing. It means not needing. It means creating a reality where others fear your absence more than they enjoy your presence. This is how you flip the social dynamic. When someone is too eager to be around you, distance yourself. When someone fails to meet your standard, withdraw without explaining. When you're invited somewhere, delay your answer to let them feel the cost of your presence. When someone insults you subtly, respond with amusement, not defense, to show they failed to penetrate. Rejection makes you rare. Rarity makes you powerful. The ultimate form of seduction is being desired by many and choosing only a few. You don't chase, you pull. And when others realize they can be replaced, but you can't, they change how they treat you forever. Psychological warfare begins with self-talk. Everything you project externally, your posture, your tone, your energy, begins in your inner dialogue. If your mind is polluted with insecurity, resentment, or doubt, no amount of external charm will save you. You'll still fumble when challenged. You'll still break when disrespected. You'll still seek validation to feel whole. But the Machiavellian mind runs differently. It is not kind. It is clear. It doesn't say, "You're enough." It says, "Become more or be ruled." Here's how to rewrite your internal programming. Replace "I hope they like me" with "Let's see if they qualify." Replace "I'm nervous" with "This is how power sharpens itself." Replace "What if they reject me" with "Good, they showed their value." Replace "Why did they do that to me" with "I allowed it, never again." Machiavelli would tell you, no one owes you respect. You must earn it by becoming undeniable, and that begins with how you speak to yourself when no one's watching. You are either your greatest general or your weakest enemy. Control the frame. Don't argue, define. In every interaction, there is a frame, an unspoken lens through which everything is interpreted. The person who defines the frame controls the conversation without needing to argue. This is one of the most underused forms of psychological power. Most people argue facts. Machiavellians argue context. For example, if someone says, "You're being arrogant," you respond, "Confidence looks like arrogance to the insecure." If someone talks over you, pause, go silent, and then ask, "Are you done?" to reset the dominance. If someone gossips, ask, "Why are you so comfortable telling me this?" To shift the suspicion onto them. Controlling the frame makes you the narrator of reality, and in a world where most people accept whatever script they're handed, the one who writes the script rules the stage. Don't react to frames, break them, or better yet, build your own. Cultivate inner fortress energy, so they never know what you're planning. There is a type of man who gives off a dangerous calm. He smiles slightly while others panic. He listens deeply but reveals nothing. He says less, but everyone listens when he does. That is fortress energy. Machiavelli believed every ruler must build an actual fortress. But in modern life, your mind is the fortress. Here's how to radiate it. Become comfortable with solitude, because if you need others to feel whole, you're not dangerous. You're dependent. Stop oversharing. Every time you expose a wound or goal too soon, you give someone a map to exploit you. Train in private. Read, write, build, and sharpen. Let others assume you're idle while you build in silence. Master your micro-reactions. When you hear something surprising, pause. Don't let your face betray you. A fortress doesn't flinch. It doesn't rush. It watches and waits. And when it strikes, it finishes the job. This is the energy that makes people second-guess themselves around you, that makes them wonder if they've underestimated you, that makes them respect you by instinct. And once that instinct is formed, it's nearly impossible to undo. By now, you've learned how to seduce minds, perform confidence, and embed power deep into the way you walk, talk, and think. But there is one more transformation, where you go beyond just being respected now and enter the realm of being remembered forever. This is what Machiavelli ultimately sought to understand. Not just temporary control, but permanent influence. Not just how to get power, but how to create a legacy that cannot be erased, even by your enemies. Now we arrive at the final stage, the apex of Machiavellian transformation. You've seduced without lowering yourself. You've built confidence that doesn't need permission. You've gained power through silence, rejection, and framing. But there is one final level, immortality. Not in the literal sense, but in the only sense that matters in power, lasting psychological influence. To become more than a person, to become a symbol. To become the kind of presence that stays in a room after you leave and lives in minds long after you're gone. This is not about ego, it is about domination without effort. Let's finish the blueprint. Become their standard so they compare everyone else to you. The greatest seduction is not temporary. It's permanent mental real estate. A Machiavellian doesn't want to be liked in the moment. He wants to be remembered when he's gone. He wants others to meet someone new and feel disappointed because they don't measure up to him. You must become their reference point, their internal gold standard. Here's how. When you leave someone's life, leave with mystery, not closure. Never over-explain your exit. Let them wonder what could have been. When you enter, be unlike anyone they've encountered. Speak less, see more, and reveal nothing. Be the one who made them feel something they didn't expect, like awe, fear, approval, danger, or possibility. Make them laugh, challenge them, silence them, and then withdraw. Why does this work? Because the mind latches on to contrast. And if you are truly distinct, even in your silence, they will search for you in everyone else and always come up short. This is how you haunt people, not like a ghost, but like a standard no one else can meet. Make your presence a performance and your absence an event. There are two kinds of people, those whose presence is background noise and those whose absence is felt like a missing organ. Machiavellians design their impact. They know when to appear, how to speak, when to vanish. Presence is a weapon, not a routine. To cultivate this, appear rarely but powerfully. Don't be overly accessible, as scarcity builds mystique. Enter a room with stillness, not energy. because calmness carries more weight than excitement. Leave before you're forgotten, always exiting with your value preserved, not eroded. When silent, stay silent long enough that they begin missing your voice. When you disappear, do so without warning and let the silence become deafening. It makes people check themselves, wondering if they did something wrong. It creates discomfort and a feeling of missing your attention. It generates longing, the thought that no one made them feel what you did. Your absence becomes an echo, a disruption, a shift in the room. And that's how legends are made, not by showing up constantly, but by becoming a phenomenon when you do. Cultivate myth. Let others fill in the blanks. One of Machiavelli's quietest strategies is this: let others tell your story. Because when people fill in the blanks, they always imagine you as more than you are. This is the power of suggestion, of myth-building, of mystery. As Machiavelli wrote, a prince must learn how not to be good, and use this knowledge, or not use it according to necessity. You don't need to correct rumors. You don't need to explain your past. You need to control the inputs and let the mind of others do the rest. To do this, drop intentional hints that make people curious, then change the subject. Let them overhear praise about you, but never repeat it yourself. Never clarify everything. Let mystery work for you. When accused of something untrue, respond with a smile to keep the myth alive. Myths are powerful because they're owned by the audience. If you build your reputation too directly, it looks fabricated. But if others piece it together from whispers, silences, and incomplete stories, it feels earned. And earned belief becomes unshakable. Transcend the persona. Become the archetype. You've started this journey wanting to be seductive, confident, and powerful. But that's not enough. At the final level, you must become something greater, an archetype. The king, the queen, the enigma, the phantom, the savior, the flame. Whatever identity suits your strategy, you must embody it so fully that others see you as more than a person. You don't just act confident. You become the person who is never shaken. You don't just play hard to get. You become the one they never got over. This is how Machiavellian power reaches mythic levels, when you're no longer seen as someone who has traits, but someone who is the trait. You are not someone who intimidates. You are intimidation. You are not someone who's seductive. You are seduction. You are not someone who seems powerful. You are power. And once you become the symbol, others start aligning their behavior around you.